Imagine a business that runs out of money. It can't pay its bills or employees, so it shuts down. Now, think of this scenario on a much larger scale, affecting an entire nation. A U.S. government shutdown is similar, but on a national scale. It brings the operations of the federal government to a grinding halt. It happens when Congress, the House and Senate, can't agree on a budget to fund government operations. This deadlock can have far-reaching consequences. The Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse, so if they deadlock and miss the deadline, the government can't legally spend money. This means no funding for federal agencies and services. As of October 4, 2025, the U.S. is in another shutdown. This is not the first time, and it likely won't be the last. The new fiscal year began October 1st, but no spending plan was passed. This failure to agree on a budget has immediate and severe impacts. This isn't just about dollars. It's a political clash leaving millions of federal workers and citizens in limbo. Essential services are disrupted, and uncertainty looms large. Both chambers must pass identical funding bills, then the president signs them into law. This process is crucial for the smooth functioning of the government. When divisions run deep, compromise is elusive. Political disagreements can stall the entire process, leading to a shutdown. Congress is supposed to pass 12 bills to fund everything from defense to parks. Each bill is essential for different sectors of the government. When they can't, they try a temporary fix, a continuing resolution, or CR. This stopgap measure is meant to keep the government running temporarily. This year, even that failed, triggering the current shutdown and putting millions at risk. The inability to pass a CR has left many in a state of uncertainty. The effects are immediate. Federal buildings go dark, museums close, and critical services pause. The ripple effects are felt nationwide. The shutdown is a stark reminder that political dysfunction in Washington disrupts lives in every community across the nation. It underscores the importance of effective governance and the need for compromise. Government shutdowns aren't new. The modern shutdown began in 1980, when a legal opinion said agencies couldn't operate without an approved budget, except for emergencies. This set the stage for political brinkmanship, leading to 14 shutdowns since then. Before 1980, agencies often kept running, expecting Congress to fund them retroactively. But the new rule was clear: no budget, no work, unless it's essential. Shutdowns in the 1980s were brief, but the 1995-96 standoff between President Clinton and Congress lasted 21 days, showing how shutdowns could be used for leverage. In recent years, shutdowns have become more frequent, reflecting deeper ideological battles over government's role. The current 2025 shutdown is just the latest chapter, eroding public trust and harming the economy. Each time, Americans are left wondering if their leaders can perform the basic task of keeping the country running. During a government shutdown, more than 2 million federal workers are divided into two categories: essential and non-essential. This distinction determines who continues working and who is sent home, and it can have a profound impact on people's lives and livelihoods. Essential employees, such as members of the military, air traffic controllers, and federal law enforcement officers, are required to keep working, even though they won't receive paychecks until the shutdown ends. Their roles are considered critical to national security and public safety, so their work cannot pause, no matter the circumstances. Non-essential workers, including scientists, park staff, and many agency employees, are furloughed and sent home without pay. Their offices sit empty, and important research, maintenance, and public services are put on hold, sometimes indefinitely. For families, this means lost income and a growing sense of uncertainty about when, or even if, paychecks will resume. Many are forced to dip into savings or take on debt just to cover basic expenses. Essential workers face the stress of doing critical, high-pressure jobs while also worrying about their own finances and how to support their families during the shutdown. Imagine being responsible for public safety, disaster response, or national defense, but not knowing how you'll pay your bills or when your next paycheck will arrive. Furloughed workers can't claim unemployment and have no income, leaving them in limbo. Many feel powerless, caught in a situation they can't control. The current shutdown has sent home 800,000 employees, including 15,000 at NASA alone. Across the country, offices are deserted and projects are stalled. These are people dedicated to public service, now told their work is non-essential. For many, it's a painful blow to their sense of purpose and professional identity. It's a financial and personal blow. showing how political gridlock directly impacts lives. The effects ripple out, touching families, communities, and the services we all rely on. The distinction between essential and non-essential is more than a label. It's a harsh reality for those who keep the country running, and a reminder of how fragile their livelihoods can be. To truly grasp the impact of a government shutdown, we need to look at the real stories from past crises, stories that reveal the human cost behind the headlines and statistics. During the 2018-19 shutdown, Coast Guard members missed paychecks for the first time in history. Families who serve our country found themselves lining up at food pantries, relying on donations just to get by. The stress and uncertainty rippled through entire communities. National parks suffered too. Rangers were furloughed, trash piled up, and fragile ecosystems were left unprotected. At Joshua Tree, iconic trees were lost to vandalism, a loss that can never be fully repaired. Every government job has value, from the visible to the behind-the-scenes roles. When workers are forced to stay home, the absence is felt in ways most people never realize. Services slow down, and critical work is left undone. Scientific research was abruptly halted. Climate studies in Antarctica stopped mid-season, and years of valuable data were lost, setting back progress on urgent global issues. One NOAA scientist had to abandon a multi-year fish study, erasing months of work and wasting taxpayer money. The setback meant starting over, with no way to recover what was lost. The cost of a shutdown isn't just lost wages, it's lost knowledge, wasted resources, and damage to our environment and future. Today, federal contractors are being laid off, and small businesses near federal offices are losing revenue. The ripple effects reach far beyond government walls, touching local economies and families. Lawsuits are already being filed over shutdown-related issues, adding legal battles to the growing list of challenges. These aren't abstract problems. They're real, painful, and entirely preventable. Families are forced to make impossible choices, and the stress is overwhelming. Shutdowns are a clear sign of political failure, and it's ordinary Americans who pay the price every single time. The 2025 shutdown centers on a standoff over the Affordable Care Act's premium subsidies. Democrats demand an extension of these subsidies in the funding bill, arguing it's vital for working families. Republicans, led by Senate Majority Leader John Thune, refuse to tie healthcare to government funding, insisting on separate debates. Influential conservatives, including allies of former President Trump, are pushing for deep government cuts and using the shutdown to target federal programs. Most Americans support extending the subsidies, but Republican leaders face pressure from their base to shrink government. House Speaker Mike Johnson has paused negotiations, deepening the deadlock. Both sides are dug in, using the shutdown as leverage. The result? A legislative stalemate, with millions caught in the crossfire. A shutdown doesn't just stop paychecks, it disrupts vital services for everyone. National parks and museums close, hurting families, tourists, and local economies that rely on visitors. Hotels, restaurants, and tour operators lose business overnight. Essential support is delayed. Social Security and Medicare checks go out, but new applications and appeals are stalled. IRS offices close, and helplines go unanswered, creating stress for those needing assistance. Even national security feels the strain. Military personnel work without pay, and civilian defense staff are furloughed. Law enforcement training and court cases are delayed, creating backlogs. Major infrastructure and clean energy projects are frozen, sometimes as political leverage. Ordinary citizens and local economies pay the price for dysfunction in Washington. The economic fallout from a shutdown ripples far beyond federal workers. Small businesses and government contractors lose income, and many aren't guaranteed back pay. Prolonged shutdowns force layoffs and can put companies out of business, causing private sector job losses. Financial markets suffer from a data blackout as agencies stop releasing economic reports, increasing volatility and uncertainty. Consumer confidence drops. People spend less, worried about the country's direction. Since consumer spending drives the economy, this can slow growth or even trigger a recession. The 2018-19 shutdown erased billions from the economy, according to the Congressional Budget Office. America's global reputation takes a hit, as allies and investors question our stability. The U.S. dollar's strength relies on trust. Each shutdown chips away at that foundation. It's a self-inflicted wound that makes it harder for the US to lead globally. Shutdowns show the real cost of political dysfunction. A shutdown ends only when Congress and the President agree on funding. Usually, this happens with a short-term continuing resolution, a temporary truce to reopen government while talks continue. The more lasting fix is passing full-year appropriation bills, but that requires real compromise. Pressure mounts as the shutdown drags on. Angry voters and economic pain force leaders to act. Once a funding bill is signed, agencies recall workers and operations resume. Thanks to recent laws, all affected employees get back pay, but the stress and hardship linger. Recovery isn't instant, agencies face backlogs and public trust is damaged. The end is a relief, but the underlying divisions remain, leaving the door open for future shutdowns. Understanding shutdowns matters because they reveal a government failing its people. This isn't just political theater, it disrupts lives, weakens the economy, and erodes trust in democracy. Shutdowns force us to ask, is government a tool for serving the public, or just a battleground for partisan fights? The recurring threat undermines faith in our leaders and the system itself. We must demand better, compromise, stability, and a government that works for everyone. The 2025 shutdown is a test of our ability to govern ourselves. In the end, the business of government is the business of us all.